Hey guys, this is the Noah chess teacher again, and today I'm going to continue my look at the basic pieces and how they move, and we are going to be doing, we're going to be working with three, the queen, the knight, and the pawn. Let's just get our kings out of the way here, and let's bring on the queen. Okay, a queen moves basically like a combination rook and bishop. If you remember correctly from the previous lesson, a rook moves forward and back as far as it would like to go. Well, if there's a piece there, obviously it can't jump over it, but wherever it's open, it can move as far as it can front and back, and then also has a bishop, which means diagonally along that diagonal. So it's a white square here, so along the white diagonal there. Okay, if it was on a black square, like so there, it could move along the black diagonal. Okay, so that's because of its range of motion. Obviously, this is why the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. Okay, so let's do the next one, which will be a knight. Okay, let's clear this first, and then let's bring on the knight. Okay, so the knight is the most interesting moving piece, in that it moves in basically an L formation. And the way I teach it is it moves like a horse would move. It has a 1, 2, and then it does a little sidestep jump. Okay, so it goes 1, 2, and then jump, or actually it could go the other side, 1, 2, jump. Okay, and this actually pretty much every direction. Again, if it wanted to go this way, it's the one piece that can jump over other pieces. So if it were to go left here, it would be 1, 2, and then jump, and then 1, 2, and then jump. Okay. If the knight was here and the king was here, for example, for the normal move for the knight, 1, 2, jump, it could not move there because a piece is in its landing square. Okay, but it does have the free range of motion so that it could go 1, 2, jump right there, or it could go 1, 2, jump. Okay, or 1, 2, jump. All right, so let's move the kings out of the way here. And what I'm going to do is, I think this sort of helps, is I'm going to put a black pawn in all the spaces that the white knight could move to. Okay, so let's put one here, because if the white knight could move there and take that piece. Okay, so let's put a black pawn here. We'll put a black pawn here because the white knight could also move there. We'll put a black pawn there, a black pawn here, a black pawn here, a black pawn here, a black pawn here, and a black pawn here. Okay, so where you see the black pawns, that is all the squares that this white knight could move to on its next move. And if you count these, 2, 4, 6, 8, there are 8 squares where the knight could move to or is in control of, because the knight essentially is in control of or hitting this square. Same thing here, 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 and here. 8 squares. Okay, so that is why one of the main reasons why we talk about having the knight in the center. Because if you remember, when the knight was in the center, it was hitting 8 squares. If you did the same exercise here and put a black pawn of all the squares that white knight could hit, you'd only see 4. So that is why we always say that you want to keep your knights in the middle, not on the rim. A knight on the rim is dim, is the saying, because you've just now lost half of your squares that you are hitting. Okay, and the last one is the pawn. The pawn's probably the most complicated piece as far as moving, because of the fact that it has several different little syncrasies or little interesting things about it. Okay, first of all, on its first move, it has a choice. You have a choice. You can move the pawn 2 squares or 1 square on its first move. So for example, let's put all the pawns out here just to give an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so for our first move, this white pawn, could move 2 squares or 1. So let's move it 2 squares. Okay. Same thing here. Okay. On its first move, 2 squares or 1. So let's just move it here. Okay. Now let's move this. For example, let's move this white pawn here, and then this black pawn here. Okay. Now for the second move, some beginners like to take this pawn and go, oh, I'll move it 2 squares. Nope, you cannot do that. You've already moved it once. Now after the first move, it only can move 1 square. Okay. All right. Now, even though it moves forward, the pawn actually captures diagonally. Okay. Let me show you what that looks like. So let's say the black pawn, its first move, it moves here. Okay. Now we've actually come in a situation where these pawns are attacking one another. Okay, this black pawn is attacking this white pawn. The white pawn is attacking that black pawn. So it's white to move. So I take here, and this black pawn can take. It could move. It could move forward. Remember, it moves forward, but when it captures, it's going to capture diagonally. Okay, white to move. Let's move it here. Okay, and let's say we move here. Now, what I like to say is these pawns here are stuck. When you have, remember, a pawn is moving forward, it can't move backwards. Okay, so this pawn normally would move forward, it's stuck. This pawn normally would move forward, it's stuck. So these pawns are in gridlock. The only way to break that gridlock is if you had another pawn, say for example here. So now these two pawns are attacking one another. So if that pawn took, now this white pawn is free to start moving up the board. Okay, it's already moved once. It's already moved its first move, so it can only move 1 square at a time. Okay. Another interesting about the pawns is the fact that once a pawn gets to the end, it's promoted into another piece. Let me show you what that looks like. So let's say, for example, the white pawn decided not to take this one, moved up. Black pawn moves forward. Let's say this white pawn moves up, and then the black pawn moves the end, and you can see it automatically turned into the queen. You can turn that, when you promote your pawn, you can turn it into any piece that you want except for a king. And 99.9% of the time, you're going to choose the queen because the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. Okay, and this just shows you that a lot of times, actually, you can win a game even if you're only ahead by a pawn, because if you can get that pawn to the end and promote it to a queen, then you have an advantage that likely will help you win the game. Okay, thanks very much, and I'm signing off.